Hi, I'm Lance Lambert. Thanks for tuning into the Vintage Vehicle Show. We are in Anaheim, California at the La Palma 35th Annual Studebaker Drivers Meet. This is a great group of cars, a great group of people, and you are going to do what you do every week. You're going to meet some of these people, see some of these cars, and hear some great music. So every time you watch the show, I tell you the same thing. I want you to kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. David Langness, this 1954 Studebaker, outstanding is not a strong enough word. Fantastic is not a strong enough word. Of all the cars at this show, and I think there are 110 last I heard, this is the one that's drawn the biggest crowd. Tell us how this happened.
15 years worth of work. Bought it as a project for myself and my 3 sons to work on, and just meticulously over time tried to build a good cruiser.
The color combination is striking. That color is striking, the blue is striking. Put them together, I have to admit, I had to stand here for about 3 minutes, and then I decided it works really well. And your interior is reflecting the same color combination. How did you arrive at that?
You know, it's funny. Through trial and error, basically. Everybody says, oh, Union 76 colors. No, that wasn't it. Oh, Denver Broncos colors. No, that wasn't it. It was just looking at the color wheel and seeing what was complementary. Navy blue and orange, definitely complementary colors, and I thought I've never seen that combination before.
You have the sun visor on it, you have the louvers on the hood. The body, for the most part, it looks to be pretty stock. Of course, the door handles are gone, and it's about a coupe sedan. It's not hardtop. Great choice. The running gear on this, you said you had a 383 in this?
Yeah, it's a 383 Corvette motor from a 92. It's an L98, fuel injected, runs great. 700 R4 transmission, 2,000 RPM at 70 miles an hour, goes down the road nice and straight and true, and gets 22 miles per gallon. So
most of the cars that are here, the majority of them are stock, original. This certainly is. And what kind of reaction do you get from the people here? And I know you're involved in the Studebaker Club because you're one of the judges here today. What is everybody tolerating this car? The old timers, do they think you're off your rocker, or are you winning them over?
Some of them probably do, but that's the nice thing about the Studebaker Club. And I've been in different car clubs, Chevrolet and others, and many of the purists in those clubs do not like modified cars. And the Studebaker Club is very different. There's a high tolerance level for, in fact, appreciation level for modified cars, and you see a lot of them here today. One judge told me as long as it's got one Studebaker part on it, I'm in favor of it. so this is a great club for both stock and modified cars, and it's one of the reasons I'm active in it.
And that's the Studebaker Drivers Club, which is, for an orphan car that there aren't that many left, that's a huge club, right?
It is. It's one of the biggest clubs in the U.S. And around the world. There are chapters in Europe, South America, everywhere. And they publish a list every year of all the owners. So if you're traveling across country, you run into a Studebaker problem, call one of the guys on the list, and they'll be right there to help you. It's a great service.
Come out and save you. On a final note, I noticed this car also has hydraulics in it.
Well, there are airbags, actually shock waves on every corner, which is a QA1 adjustable shock inside a bag, and makes for wonderful suspension. Really goes around corners great. I can set it at any height I want it, and it's smooth, controlled. Excellent suspension, one of the best I've ever built.
So you can roll into a lowrider show with this and drop it down to the ground, or you can go four-wheeling with it. And,
yeah, it'll stand up like a frog and go literally lay on the ground.
I bet it doesn't hop, though. I bet it's not a hop.
No, none of that. No, It's not a lowrider.
Well, David, thank you very much. It is a beautiful car. You can be filled with just all kinds of justifiable pride with this car.
Thank you very much.
About 5 or 6 years ago, I had a very nice Avanti 2. It was a 70 Avanti. It was this color. It looked almost duplicate to this. So I'm walking around, I see this car, and it's like an old friend is beckoning me. John and Rosalind Metzger, tell us a little bit about your car.
Well, it's a 64 supercharged Avanti, and it was one of about 4,600 that Studebaker produced. And this is about 300 cars from the last of the cars.
Being the supercharged, an R2 in the Studebaker community, if you have an Avanti, that's pretty cool. If you have an R2, that is really cool.
Correct. Yeah.
We were walking around, I was talking to you to begin with, and you claim to have put in a whole lot of labor into this vehicle. Is that true?
It's called a labor of love because I'm supporting my husband with this project because he's put many, many hours in the garage, on the driveway, just trying to keep this car to the shape that it's in now, to get it there.
When I owned my Avanti, most everybody seemed to really like it, but every once in a while somebody would say, what on earth is that? What's the most bizarre reaction you've ever gotten with the car?
No, I really haven't had any bizarre reactions. I remember when the cars were new and they were a love it or leave it sort of thing. People either loved them or hated them. There wasn't any middle ground with the car. And I think a lot of that still survives today amongst the people that remember them.
This was sort of the flagship towards the end of Studebaker's life. What do you think they could have done to keep Studebaker alive and well?
They were too far gone at that point to really do anything. They needed to restructure their whole corporation from the ground up. Their manufacturing facilities were decades behind everybody else. Their engineering was behind everybody else. And they had just letting things gone so long that they didn't have the resources to catch up with anybody.
You say remember when these were new. This was such a startling change from the somewhat conservative grandma and grandpa kind of Studebakers, the Larks and all that were driving around. What was your reaction back then?
I fell in love with them. I was 9 years old and I saw one at a county fair, and I knew that I was going to have one someday.
You mentioned that you have been married off camera. You mentioned like 36 years?
Yes.
Yeah, 36, 37.
Did he own this car when you met him?
No, we've only owned the car 20 or 22 years, John?
25.
Oh, 25 years, and we just got it painted about 5 years ago. So this is definitely a labor of love.
I would think that owning an Avanti would mean that everywhere you went, women were chasing this guy. Is that the way it is?
Oh, no, I'm always with them.
Well, your Avanti R2 is absolutely beautiful. Thank you very much for being on the Vintage Vehicle Show, and here's to another 36 years of marriage.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bob Hallgren, I love Studebakers, I love pickup trucks, I love Studebaker pickup trucks. I especially like them because they look like the front end of a sedan and the back end of a truck. Tell us about your 38 Studebaker Coupe Express.
Well, I like them for the same reason. Studebaker actually made the first El Camino type pickups of anybody. They made them in 37, 38, and 39, as well as making their regular commercial vehicles. Never made them in big numbers. In 38, they only made 1,000 of these, and so not very many of them around. What made them unique, of course, was having the car front cab, and then in the back they had a stylized bed, all double wall steel construction. You think about it, it took most manufacturers until the 60s before they lost the wood in the bottom of the beds, and the beds in the Studies were all steel to start with. Plus, the sides of the beds were all double wall steel, and the tailgate's double wall steel. So you don't have any of the dents show when you have stuff in there. So they were really way ahead of their time. Tremendous vehicles.
Am I correct in that this was a bit more, or substantially more in cost in 1938 compared to a Ford or a Chev pickup?
I don't know. I suspect it was. Studebaker actually introduced the Champion in 1939 to compete with Ford and Chevrolet. So this would have been, this was based on the Commander, which was a midline type car. So at that time, it would have probably competed with, I suspect, like a Dodge, a car like that, mid-tone, yeah. Yep, and I think expense is the reason they didn't sell very many cost.
Why a truck? Why is there a truck in your life instead of a four-door sedan or two-door or whatever?
Well, once you're a Studebaker fanatic, you never stop at one. Right now we have 13, and we're picking up another one tomorrow. We'll have 14, and not all of them run. We have 5 of them are in good shape. Another one we're restoring now, and you can't have just one. You get hooked. They're such unique, unusual vehicles. The other thing that's really wonderful about collecting Studebakers is the price. You know, besides having a vehicle that when you take to a car show with Ford and Chevys, people want to see your car. They don't want to see the Ford and Chevy. They look at them, but they see lots of them. A Studebaker, compared to a Ford or Chevy, is much more affordable, and the club support is just tremendous. The Studebaker Drivers Club is the largest single-mark club in the world. We have 12,000 members worldwide. At our international meets, we'll get people from Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, all over Europe. And in fact, we had some people from Russia the last couple international meets. So it's tremendous. Tremendous club magazine, tremendous people. It's a wonderful club.
I'm a Studebaker club veteran, so I agree with you. The powertrain on this, is it the same motor and transmission that they used in the sedans?
Yeah, it's a 200 and I believe it's 18 cubic inch 6. It started out in the Dictator in the early 30s, and Studebaker actually made this for truck use and car use up through 1960. It's got a 3-speed with an overdrive transmission, so at highway speeds it's real reasonable going down the road. I drove this up from San Diego today, and actually it likes to cruise right at about 65. And just cruises easy, no heating problems, anything. It's smooth as can be. We run radials on it, and one thing, the Studebaker Club is real progressive as far as concours judging and safety and items such as that. So like seat belts, radial tires, things like that, they don't deduct points for. So it's got that. It's got another interesting feature, which is a hill holder, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. What it does is it's attached to the clutch. So when you're on any kind of an incline heading uphill, not downhill of course, but uphill, and you have the clutch in, once you set the brake, you can take your foot off the brake, and as long as the clutch is in, the brake system has a hydraulic lock on it. And so then when you're ready to go, you give it some gas, let the clutch out. You don't have to make a mad dash from the brake to the accelerator pedal. It's something that Studebaker developed in the early 30s, and it's just tremendous.
And you wonder why everybody didn't immediately do it.
Oh yeah, even in today's cars, a lot of people I think don't like clutch cars, particularly like a city like San Francisco. You know, if you're not really good at a clutch and you're on a big incline, you have problems.
Well, Bob, this is a beautiful pickup truck, and I want to thank you for being on the Vintage Vehicle Show. And one thing I normally do when I thank somebody like that, I shake their hand. I'm going to shake your hand, but we're going to do the secret Studebaker Drivers Club handshake, so you can't see this. So we're going to have to step out of the frame because this isn't for the public. So. Malcolm Stinson, you have a 1928 President Roadster, correct?
This is true.
It's absolutely beautiful. It's too bad you couldn't afford a newer car, though.
Well, I know, but you know, this car just does everything I need, and it gets me where I want to go. And not only that, boy, it does pick up the ladies.
He rolled in. There were women all over there. They were hanging on they were draped over the spare. They were everywhere. Or was that some other car?
No, it was this one.
Well, you say you've had it for a while. Well, tell us the history of your car.
Well, actually, I've only had it for a little over a year, but it is a roadster, and trying to find a true roadster today, they're just like finding scarce as hen's teeth, put it that way. And a little over a year ago, I came across this car, and I just fell in love with it, had to have it, and made a deal. And I have had more fun with this thing in the last year than any other Studebaker I've got, which are several.
Coming out to the Studebaker event here, how are you received by the other members or other participants?
Oh, very well. I've been with the Studebaker group for many years, and I love it really, because you get to the point to where you know so many people that just trying to walk across the field, you can't, because there's always somebody hollering, hey, you know, I want to talk to you. So
the majority of cars here are 50s and 60s, so there aren't very many this old here. In fact, none maybe. Yeah, tell us a little bit about why you are driving a 28 Studebaker as opposed to a 64 Avanti or a 62 Lark or a Bullet Nose 50.
Well, I will tell you that. And actually, I do have a 63 Avanti R2, and I've got several others that are newer. However, there is nothing like driving a roadster. It has an 8-cylinder motor, and it'll go down the road 65 and 70 like any other car. And I don't know, it's just the design of the car, the looks. To me, this is the car, and I've just had so much fun with it.
And how does it handle? This turns corners just fine?
It turns, yeah, driving down the road, or like you say, on cornering, it does fine. The thing is that it is so powerful, and then with mechanical brakes, it is a little questionable if you have to stop in a hurry.
You have to think ahead.
You got it, yeah. So, in fact, with these mechanical brakes, I've used the term not brakes for many years. They're slow-me-downs.
Well, it doesn't seem to have slowed you down much. Fun guy, Malcolm, and all those women, you know, they were just draped over. I know they're waiting for you to finish this interview, so
well,
we need to wrap this up.
We could kind of close this up, you know.
Let's hope your wife is not watching.
I don't have one of those.
Well, then, there you go, ladies. This is the guy to call. Malcolm, thank you very much for being on the Vintage Vehicle Show.
You bet. I enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for tuning into the show this week. We have had a great time here at La Palma Park in Anaheim, California, the Studebaker Drivers Club meet. What a great group of people, a lot of great cars. Malcolm, thank you very much for being willing to give me a ride. Here we go. The Studebakers, women cannot resist. You were right, Malcolm. Those women are all over you.
What can I say?
All right, well, let's get out of here before any more bother us.